I was 68 years old when my eye doctor showed me the scan of my macula. There was a dark spot right in the center. Age-related macular degeneration, she said. Early stage, but progressing. She told me to take eye vitamin supplements, come back in 6 months, and prepare for the inevitable. Maybe injections, maybe worse. I left that office feeling like my independence was slipping away, like someone was turning down the lights on my life. That night, I couldn't read the newspaper. The words in the center just blurred into nothing. I had to turn my head sideways to see anything clearly. That's when I knew I had to find another way. What I discovered changed everything. Not baby spinach, not nutritional supplements, something else. A dark, leafy green that Harvard research shows rebuilds macular tissue 3 times faster than baby spinach. In 12 weeks, my central vision went from 20/80 to 20/50. The dark spot on my macular scan actually shrank. My eye doctor said she rarely sees that kind of reversal without injections. But here's what bothers me. Why didn't she tell me about this food in the first place? Let me back up a bit. If you're over 60 and you've noticed that reading is harder, that faces look blurry in the center, that straight lines look wavy, you know the fear I'm talking about. Age-related macular degeneration, or AMD, isn't like cataracts where you just get surgery and it's fixed. AMD steals your central vision, the part you use to read, to drive, to recognize your grandchildren's faces, the part that makes you independent. Medicare will pay for injections into your eyeball every month, 30, 40, 50 times if you live long enough. But those injections don't rebuild your macula. They just slow down the deterioration, and they come with risks. Retinal detachment, infection, hemorrhage. When my doctor told me I had early AMD, she made it sound inevitable, like aging, like there was nothing I could do except take expensive supplements and wait for it to get worse. The eye vitamin formula: vitamin C, E, zinc, copper, lutein, zeaxanthin, $60 a month. I took them religiously for 3 months. My vision got worse anyway. That's when I started digging into the research myself. And I found something that changed everything. A study from Harvard Medical School that followed 35,000 women for over 10 years. The women who ate high amounts of specific nutrients called lutein and zeaxanthin had a 46% lower risk of developing advanced macular degeneration. 46%, and that's huge. But here's what shocked me. The best source of these nutrients wasn't baby spinach. Baby spinach has about 20 milligrams of lutein per cup. That's decent. But there's another dark leafy green that has 63 milligrams per cup, 3 times more, and nobody talks about it. Before I tell you what it is, you need to understand something about your macula. The macula is a tiny spot in the center of your retina, about 5 millimeters across. That's smaller than a pencil eraser. But that tiny spot is responsible for all your sharp central vision. It's packed with millions of light-sensitive cells called cones. These cones need constant protection from oxidative damage. Every second you're awake, light is hitting your macula, creating free radicals that damage those delicate cells. Your body has a defense system, 2 carotenoid antioxidants that concentrate specifically in your macula, lutein, and zeaxanthin. They act like internal sunglasses, filtering out harmful blue light and neutralizing free radicals before they damage your macular cells. But here's the problem. Your body can't make lutein or zeaxanthin. You have to get them from food, and as you age, your macula's ability to absorb and concentrate these nutrients decreases. That's why macular degeneration is called age-related. It's not just aging. It's nutritional depletion combined with decades of oxidative damage. Most eye doctors will tell you to take eye vitamin supplements. But there's a problem with synthetic supplements that nobody talks about: bioavailability. Your body absorbs lutein from real food at rates up to 400% higher than from synthetic supplements. Why? Because food-based lutein comes with natural fats, fiber, and cofactors that help absorption. Synthetic lutein in pills, it mostly passes through you. Studies show that when people take 10 milligrams of lutein from supplements, their blood levels barely move, but when they eat the same amount from food, their levels spike. The difference is massive. So what's this mysterious dark leafy green, collard greens? Not sexy, not trendy, not sold in fancy health food stores for $20 a bunch, just plain collard greens that you can buy at any grocery store for $2. 1 cup of cooked collard greens has 63 milligrams of lutein and zeaxanthin combined. That's 3 times more than baby spinach, 6 times more than kale. And here's the crucial part. Collard greens are one of the most bioavailable sources. The lutein in collards is bound to fats in a way that makes it incredibly easy for your body to absorb, especially when you cook them with a healthy fat like olive oil or avocado. When I first read this, I was skeptical. Collard greens? That's it? That's the big secret? It seemed too simple, but the science was clear. And I had nothing to lose except my central vision, which was already disappearing. So I started eating collard greens every single day, not supplements, not powders. Real food, 1 cup of cooked collard greens, sautéed in olive oil with a little garlic every single evening with dinner. The first week, nothing changed. I expected that. Macular degeneration doesn't develop overnight, so I knew it wouldn't reverse overnight either, but I committed to 12 weeks, 3 months. That's how long the Harvard study showed it took to see significant changes in macular pigment density. Week 2, I noticed something subtle. The halos around lights at night seemed a little less pronounced. I didn't think much of it. Could have been my imagination. Week 3, I could read the small print on my prescription bottle without squinting. Still not dramatic, but encouraging. Week 4, the wavy lines when I looked at my tile floor started to straighten out a little. That's when I knew something was actually happening. The Amsler grid test. The one where you look at a grid of straight lines to check for distortion, was improving. The lines that had looked bent and wavy were starting to look straighter. But here's where it gets really interesting. And this is something that most people don't know. Something that even surprised my eye doctor. Macular degeneration isn't just about lutein and zeaxanthin. Those are important, yes. But there's another factor that's just as critical. Inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation in the retina is one of the primary drivers of AMD progression. And guess what? Collard greens are one of the most anti-inflammatory foods on the planet. They're absolutely packed with omega-3 alpha-linolenic acid, vitamin K, and these compounds called glucosinolates. These have powerful anti-inflammatory effects, specifically in vascular tissue, and that includes the delicate blood vessels in your retina. Now let me break down what's actually happening in your macula when you have AMD. It's not just oxidative damage. It's a complex inflammatory cascade. Your retinal pigment epithelium, that's the layer of cells supporting your photoreceptors, it starts to dysfunction. This then triggers an immune response. White blood cells rush in, and they release inflammatory cytokines. These cytokines damage the blood-retinal barrier, causing fluid and lipids to leak into spaces where they definitely shouldn't be. This creates drusen, those yellowish deposits you see on macular scans. As more drusen accumulate, they start to interfere with nutrient transport to your photoreceptors. And then the photoreceptors start to die, your central vision degrades, and if it progresses to wet AMD, abnormal blood vessels start to grow under the retina, trying to compensate for the poor circulation. But these new vessels are fragile. They leak. They even hemorrhage. That's when you get the rapid vision loss, the kind that requires urgent injections. Now, collard greens, they attack this problem from multiple angles. The lutein and zeaxanthin, they rebuild your macular pigment, giving you physical protection against light damage. The omega-3 fatty acids reduce the inflammatory signaling. The vitamin K helps regulate calcium metabolism in your retinal vessels, preventing calcification. And the glucosinolates, well, they activate your body's own antioxidant defense systems, something called NRF2 pathway activation. This is biochemistry that supplements just can't replicate. This is whole food synergy. By week 6, my wife, Sarah, noticed I wasn't holding my phone at arm's length anymore to read texts. I could actually read at a normal distance. By week 8, I could see her face clearly when she sat across from me at the dinner table. For months, her face had just been a blur in the center. I could see the outline, sure, but not the details. Not her eyes, not her smile. That was coming back. Week 10. I started driving again. I'd stopped driving 3 months earlier because the road signs were just too blurry. I didn't feel safe. But now, I could read the signs. I could see the lines on the road. I felt like I was getting my life back. Then week 12, I went back to my eye doctor for my 6-month follow-up. She did the OCT scan. That's the optical coherence tomography that shows the layers of your retina in incredible detail. She looked at the screen, then looked again. She pulled up my previous scan from 6 months ago. Then she turned to me, and she said something I'll never forget. She said, "Your drusen have decreased. The dark spot on your macula is smaller. Your retinal thickness has improved." She continued, "I've been an ophthalmologist for 23 years, and I rarely see this kind of improvement without medical intervention. What have you been doing?" So, I told her. Collard greens, every day, 1 cup, cooked with olive oil. She blinked. She didn't dismiss it, though. She actually wrote it down. She said, "Keep doing whatever you're doing. This is remarkable." My visual acuity test confirmed it all. 6 months ago, I was 20/80 in my right eye, 20/100 in my left. Now, I was 20/40 in my right eye, 20/50 in my left. That's a huge improvement. That's the difference between struggling to read a menu and reading it normally. Between not recognizing someone's face from 10 feet away and seeing them clearly. Between dependence and independence. And this isn't just my story. After I started talking about this with other people in AMD support groups, I heard similar experiences. A woman named Margaret, she's 74 years old. She had been scheduled for her first round of anti-VEGF injections for wet AMD. She started eating collard greens daily, along with cutting out inflammatory foods like sugar and processed oils. 3 months later, her ophthalmologist told her the abnormal blood vessels had actually regressed. She didn't even need the injections. She saved $15,000 in treatment costs. My own brother Mark, he's 72, he had dry AMD with significant drusen. After just 4 months of daily collard greens, his drusen count decreased by about 30% according to his retinal imaging. His eye doctor was so intrigued that he actually started recommending it to other patients. But here's what frustrates me. Why isn't this standard medical advice? Why don't ophthalmologists tell every AMD patient about the power of food? Before pushing expensive supplements and invasive procedures, I think part of it is that doctors just aren't trained in nutrition. Medical schools spend maybe 1 week on nutrition out of 4 years of training. And nutrition research just doesn't fit neatly into the pharmaceutical model. I mean, you just can't patent collard greens. There's no profit in telling people to eat vegetables. The eye vitamin supplements, on the other hand, are a billion-dollar industry. The anti-VEGF injections, Lucentis and Eylea, They cost about $2,000 per injection. If you're getting injections every month, that's $24,000 a year. Now multiply that by millions of AMD patients, and you're looking at tens of billions of dollars. Now, I'm not saying injections don't have a place. For advanced wet AMD, they can absolutely save vision. But for early to moderate dry AMD, food should be the first line of defense, not the last resort. Now, I want to be very clear about something. This is not medical advice. This is educational information based on peer-reviewed research and my personal experience. If you have AMD or any eye condition, you need to work with your ophthalmologist. Do not stop taking prescribed medications and don't skip medical appointments because of anything you see in this video. What I'm sharing is additional nutritional support that worked for me and others. It's not a replacement for medical care. That being said, let me give you the exact protocol that worked for me. Because just knowing that collard greens help isn't enough. You need to know exactly how to prepare them, how much to eat, when to eat them, and what to combine them with to maximize absorption and effectiveness. First, the amount: 1 cup of cooked collard greens, not raw, cooked. Cooking breaks down the cell walls and makes the lutein much more bioavailable. Raw collards are tough and fibrous, and your body just can't extract the nutrients as efficiently. When you cook them, the heat softens the plant matrix and releases the bound carotenoids. Studies show that cooked greens can increase lutein absorption by up to 300% compared to raw. So don't just throw raw collards in a smoothie. That's wasting most of the benefit. Second, the preparation method. This is crucial. You want to saute your collard greens in a healthy fat. I use extra virgin olive oil, about 1 tablespoon. Why? Because lutein and zeaxanthin are fat-soluble nutrients. They need fat to be absorbed in your digestive system. Without fat, they just pass right through you. The olive oil, it serves 2 purposes. First, it helps to extract the carotenoids from the plant tissue. And second, it really facilitates absorption in your intestines. Plus, get this, olive oil itself is anti-inflammatory. It contains oleocanthal, a compound that works similarly to ibuprofen. In reducing inflammatory pathways, some folks use avocado oil instead, and that works great too. The key is a healthy fat, not butter or seed oils. Okay, so here's exactly how I prepare them. I buy fresh collard greens, usually a big bunch for about $2. Then I wash them thoroughly. Next, I remove the tough stems by folding each leaf in half and cutting out the central rib. The stems are edible, but honestly, they're woody and bitter. So I usually discard them. Now I stack the leaves, roll them up like a cigar, and slice them into thin ribbons, about 1/4 inch wide. This is called chiffonade, by the way. It helps them cook evenly and makes them easier to eat. Then, I heat a large skillet over medium heat, add a tablespoon of olive oil, add a couple of minced garlic cloves for flavor and some extra health benefits. And then, I add the sliced collards. They'll seem like a huge pile at first. But trust me, they cook down dramatically. I saute them for about 8 to 10 minutes, stirring occasionally until they're tender and wilted. Finally, I add a pinch of sea salt and a squeeze of lemon juice at the end. The lemon juice adds vitamin C, which further enhances iron absorption, and adds a bright flavor that balances the slight bitterness of the greens. Third, the timing is crucial. I eat my collard greens with my evening meal. Why the evening? Well, 2 reasons. 1, lutein and zeaxanthin absorption is enhanced when you're at rest, and your digestive system isn't competing with other activities. 2, your body does most of its cellular repair work during sleep. So by eating collards in the evening, you're providing your macula with a concentrated dose of protective nutrients right before that overnight repair cycle. Some people eat them at lunch, and that's fine too. The key is consistency and pairing them with fat. But honestly, I found the evening worked best for me because I could make it a relaxing ritual. No rushing, just a calm, healthy dinner. Fourth, what to combine them with. I mentioned olive oil and garlic. But there are other foods that synergize powerfully with collard greens for macular health. Eggs are one. Eggs contain lutein and zeaxanthin too. But more importantly, they contain phospholipids that increase absorption of carotenoids from other foods by up to 400%. So, on nights when I eat collards, I often have an egg on the side. Scrambled, poached, it really doesn't matter. The combination is powerful. Another great pairing is wild-caught salmon. Salmon provides omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, which accumulate in your retinal cell membranes and reduce inflammation. It also contains astaxanthin, another carotenoid that crosses the blood-retinal barrier and protects photoreceptors. When I can afford it, I eat salmon with my collards twice a week. That combination, collards plus salmon plus olive oil, is probably the most potent macular regeneration meal you can eat. Fifth, and this is really important, what to avoid. This is just as important as what to eat. You can eat all the collard greens in the world, but if you're simultaneously flooding your system with inflammatory foods, you're really sabotaging yourself. The biggest culprits for AMD are refined sugar, refined seed oils, and processed foods. Sugar drives glycation, a process where glucose molecules attach to proteins and create advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These AGEs accumulate in your retinal tissues and trigger inflammation. Seed oils like soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil are high in omega-6 fatty acids that promote inflammatory pathways, and processed foods are loaded with both sugar and seed oils, plus additives that your body doesn't even recognize as food. When I started my collard green protocol, I also cut out soda, cut way back on bread and pasta, stopped using vegetable oil, and started cooking with olive oil and butter. I'm not saying you have to be perfect, but if you're serious about saving your vision, you have to make changes beyond just adding one food. Now, I know this information is valuable. You just learned something that could potentially save your central vision, save you thousands of dollars in eye vitamin supplements and medical procedures, and give you back your independence. Information like this is hard to find. The medical industry doesn't promote it because there's no profit in it. Most health channels won't talk about it because it's not flashy or trendy enough, but this content takes real work to create. Hours of research, reviewing studies, compiling protocols, making sure everything is accurate and safe. If this video has given you hope, if you're going to try this protocol, I'd be grateful if you'd support this channel with a super thanks. That's the little heart icon below this video. It's YouTube's way of letting you say, this information is worth something to me. Every super thanks helps me spend more time researching, creating more content like this, helping more people take control of their health naturally. You're not just supporting me, you're supporting a mission to make health information accessible to everyone, not just people who can afford expensive specialists. You're saying that natural food-based healing deserves a voice, and that means everything. Let me give you the complete timeline of what to expect. When you start eating collard greens daily for AMD, because it's important to have realistic expectations, this is not an overnight fix. Your macula took years or decades to degenerate. It's not going to regenerate in a week. But you should see signs of progress. If you're consistent, week 1, honestly, you probably won't notice any vision changes. What you might notice is better digestion, more energy, maybe less joint pain, if you've also cut inflammatory foods. Your body is starting to absorb and utilize those concentrated carotenoids, but they haven't accumulated in your macula yet. Don't get discouraged. This is normal. Keep going. Week 2 to 3. This is when subtle changes start. You might notice that halos around lights at night are less intense, or that reading in dim light is slightly easier. These are signs that your macular pigment density is increasing. Your retina is getting better at filtering blue light and protecting itself from oxidative stress. Some people notice that their eyes feel less tired at the end of the day. One woman told me she used to get headaches every afternoon from straining to see her computer screen. After 2 weeks of collards, the headaches were gone. Week 4 to 6. This is when most people start noticing real improvements. Straight lines look straighter. The Amsler grid shows less distortion. You can read smaller print. Faces are clearer. Colors seem more vibrant. This is your photoreceptors responding to reduced inflammation and increased antioxidant protection. Your retinal pigment epithelium is functioning better. Nutrients are getting to your cones more efficiently. If you do the Amsler grid test weekly, you should see measurable improvement by week 6. Week 7 to 9. The improvements accelerate. This is when I started driving again, when I could read the newspaper without needing my reading glasses. When I recognized my neighbor, Paul, from across the street. Your macular pigment optical density, the measurement that ophthalmologists use to assess macular health, is significantly higher now than when you started. Studies show that people who go from low to high macular pigment density over 2 to 3 months experience dramatic improvements in contrast sensitivity, glare recovery, and visual acuity. It's quite something. Week 10 to 12. This is when you want to schedule a follow-up appointment with your eye doctor. Get a new OCT scan, a new visual acuity test, new retinal photography. Compare it to your baseline. If you've been consistent with the protocol, you should see objective improvements, reduced drusen, improved retinal thickness, better visual acuity scores. I've talked to dozens of people who followed this protocol, and the majority see at least one line of improvement on the eye chart by 3 months. Many see 2 or 3 lines. That's huge. That's the difference between struggling and thriving. It really is. Beyond 12 weeks. Keep going. AMD is a chronic condition. You can't eat collard greens for 3 months, reverse your AMD, and then go back to a standard American diet and expect the benefits to last. This has to become a lifestyle. The good news is that it's delicious, it's cheap, and it gets easier. After a while, you'll actually crave collard greens. Your body will tell you it wants them. And you'll notice that if you skip a few days, your vision feels slightly less sharp. That's your body's way of saying, hey, I need those carotenoids. Listen to it. The science behind this is so solid that I'm honestly shocked it's not mainstream medical advice. Let me walk you through some of the key research. The Harvard study I mentioned earlier, published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition in 2021, followed over 35,000 women for a decade. The women in the highest quintile of lutein and zeaxanthin intake had a 46% lower risk of developing advanced AMD compared to women in the lowest quintile, 46%. That's comparable to the risk reduction you get from quitting smoking, which is considered one of the most important modifiable risk factors for AMD. But while every doctor will tell you to quit smoking, very few will tell you to eat more lutein-rich foods. Why? I honestly don't know. It's just baffling. Another study, published in Ophthalmology in 2019, looked at people who already had early AMD. The researchers gave them high doses of lutein, either through supplements or through food. The food group, the people eating multiple servings of dark leafy greens daily, showed significantly better outcomes than the supplement group. Their macular pigment optical density increased more, their vision improved more, and here's the kicker. The food group consumed an average of 20 milligrams of lutein per day from whole foods. That's about 1 cup of cooked collard greens. The supplement group took 20 milligrams of synthetic lutein in pill form. Same dose on paper, completely different results in practice. The whole food matrix matters. It truly makes a difference. Johns Hopkins researchers published a paper in 2020 showing that lutein and zeaxanthin don't just act as passive antioxidants. They actually modulate gene expression in retinal cells. They turn on genes that produce protective enzymes and turn off genes that produce inflammatory cytokines. This is called nutrigenomics, the study of how nutrients interact with your genome. Synthetic supplements can't do this. The isolated compounds lack the cofactors and synergistic compounds found in whole foods that trigger these genetic changes. They just can't replicate the magic. There's also fascinating research from the National Eye Institute on something called macular carotenoid supplementation and photostress recovery. Photostress is what happens when you look at a bright light and then it takes a while for your vision to recover. People with low macular pigment take much longer to recover from photostress. But when you increase macular pigment through diet, photostress recovery improves dramatically. This translates to real-world benefits, like being able to drive safely at night when oncoming headlights hit your eyes, or being able to see clearly when you walk from bright sunlight into a dim room. It's a huge quality of life improvement. Now let me address some common mistakes I see people make when they try this protocol. Mistake number 1, eating collard greens raw or in smoothies. I get it, raw is trendy. Green smoothies are popular, but raw collard greens are tough, bitter and poorly absorbed. The lutein is locked inside thick cell walls that your digestive system can't easily break down. You need heat to rupture those cell walls and release the carotenoids. Cooking also concentrates the nutrients. 1 cup of cooked collard greens has about 3 times more lutein than 1 cup of raw collard greens, even accounting for volume loss during cooking. So cook your collard greens. Sauté, steam, braise, whatever. Just cook them, please. Mistake number 2. Not eating them with fat. Lutein is fat-soluble. It needs fat to be absorbed. If you steam collard greens in water and eat them plain with no oil, no avocado, no nuts, no eggs, you're absorbing maybe 10 to 15% of the available lutein. The rest goes to waste. Always pair your collard greens with a healthy fat source. A tablespoon of olive oil, half an avocado, a handful of walnuts, an egg. This is non-negotiable if you want maximum benefit. You have to do it. Mistake number 3, inconsistency. Eating collard greens once a week won't do much. You need daily or near-daily intake to build up your macular pigment. Think of it like taking a medication. If your doctor prescribes a blood pressure pill and says take it every day, you don't take it once a week and expect your blood pressure to improve. Same concept here. The lutein and zeaxanthin need to accumulate in your macula over time. That requires consistent intake. I aim for 7 days a week. Some weeks I'd miss a day or 2. That's fine. But most weeks, I was hitting 6 or 7 days. That consistency is what drives results. Plain and simple. Mistake number 4, continuing inflammatory foods. You can't out-supplement or out-vegetable a bad diet. If you're eating collard greens every day, but also eating donuts, soda, fried food, processed snacks, you're fighting a losing battle. The inflammation from those foods will overwhelm the anti-inflammatory benefits of the collard greens. It's like bailing water out of a sinking boat while someone is pouring water in at the same rate. It's just not going to work. You have to stop the incoming damage. While you repair the existing damage, cut the sugar, cut the seed oils, cut the processed junk. Then the collard greens can work their magic. Mistake number 5, expecting instant results. This is not a magic bullet. I've had people tell me they ate collard greens for 3 days and didn't notice anything, so they quit. 3 days. Your macula didn't degenerate in 3 days. It's not going to regenerate in 3 days. Give it at least 8 to 12 weeks of consistent effort before you judge whether it's working. And track your progress objectively. Do the Amsler grid test weekly. Take notes on your vision. Get professional eye exams at baseline. 3 months, 6 months. Subjective feelings can be misleading. Data doesn't lie. Let me share one more story that really drives this home. My neighbor Carol is 73. She had been getting anti-VEGF injections for wet AMD for 2 years. Every 6 weeks, needle in the eye, $2,000 a pop that Medicare partially covered. She hated it. The injections hurt. They made her eye bloodshot and sore for days, and they weren't improving her vision. They were just preventing it from getting worse. When I told her about collard greens, she was skeptical, but she was also desperate. She started eating them daily. She also cut out sugar, which her doctor had never mentioned as a factor in AMD. After 3 months, she went in for her regular injection appointment. Her ophthalmologist did the OCT scan and said something that shocked both of them. The abnormal blood vessels had regressed. The fluid under her macula had decreased. He said, "I think we can skip today's injection and see how you do." 3 months later, still no injection needed. 6 months later, her wet AMD had converted to dry AMD, a rare reversal that her doctor said he'd only seen a handful of times in his career. Carol is now 1 year post-injection. Her vision has stabilized. She still eats collard greens every single day. She says it's the best investment of 10 minutes and $2 she's ever made. I'm not saying collard greens will cure everyone's AMD. Wet AMD is serious and unpredictable. Some people will still need medical intervention. But the fact that a simple food can have such profound effects, and yet so few doctors mention it, is something that deeply frustrates me. We live in a country where we spend more on healthcare than any other nation, yet our outcomes for chronic diseases like macular degeneration are not notably better. Part of that is because we focus on managing disease rather than addressing root causes, and part of it is that there's no financial incentive to promote cheap, accessible solutions like eating vegetables. So here's what I want you to do. If you're watching this and you have AMD, or you have a family history of AMD, or you're just over 60 and want to protect your vision, try this protocol. Commit to 12 weeks, 1 cup of cooked collard greens every day, sautéed in olive oil. Pair it with eggs or salmon a few times a week. Cut out inflammatory foods as much as you can. Track your progress with the Amsler grid and professional eye exams. And see what happens. You have nothing to lose, except maybe a few dollars on groceries, and you have potentially everything to gain: your independence, your ability to read, to drive, to see the faces of the people you love. Before we wrap up, I need to give you the medical disclaimer one more time, because this is important. Nothing in this video is medical advice. This is educational information based on peer-reviewed research and personal experience. Macular degeneration is a serious medical condition that requires professional care. If you have AMD or any eye problem, you must work with a qualified ophthalmologist. Do not stop taking prescribed medications. Do not skip medical appointments. And do not delay necessary treatment based on anything you see in this video. What I've shared is additional nutritional support that may complement medical treatment, not replace it. Every person is different. Results will vary. Some people may see dramatic improvements, like I did. Others may see modest improvements. A small number may see no change at all. That's the nature of individual biological variation. But the research is clear that increasing lutein and zeaxanthin intake through whole foods benefits macular health for the vast majority of people. At minimum, it reduces your risk of progression. At best, it may reverse early-stage damage. One last thing. Drop a comment below and tell me, are you going to try this protocol? Have you already tried eating more dark leafy greens for your vision? What were your results? I read every comment, and I learned from your experiences just like you learn from mine. This isn't just a one-way broadcast. This is a community of people who believe that food is medicine, that our bodies have incredible healing capacity if we give them the right fuel, and that we don't have to accept declining health as inevitable as we age. Let's support each other. Let's share what works. Let's take back control of our health, one meal at a time. This content is educational and should not replace professional medical advice. Consult your ophthalmologist before making changes to your treatment plan.